Hey everybody, I'm really glad you found Suncrest Messages. I do hope you'll take a minute to subscribe to either our podcast or our YouTube channel. And you can also download the Suncrest app. There's great stuff there that goes far beyond these messages. Either way, I hope that the next 30 minutes helps you integrate faith with your life. Enjoy. In my prediction-making world, I'm not always that good at making predictions, but this was the easiest prediction ever to think that spending 3 weeks talking about gratitude toward the end of 2020 would be good for our souls. It was not difficult to come up with this concept and say, yeah, that would be a really healthy thing for us. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, but gratitude is actually the closest thing I know to a magical elixir. You want to feel better? Step back and think about what you're thankful for. You want to help other people feel better? Express gratitude to them and see them light up. You want to have a better connection with God? And I'm just telling you, step back and appreciate all that He's given to you. It is almost magical to think the power that gratitude has in our lives. And I don't ask this very often, I don't think so, but today I want to ask you to receive the words coming out of my mouth as truly and precisely the voice of God in your life. Now, I'm just a human being. I'm just a teacher. I mess up. I don't always teach the exact right things. I'll admit that. I do my best. But today, I'm telling you, I think the words coming out of my mouth are from God for you in the most practical of ways. And I'm going to ask you to receive them in that way. And I have a very specific vision for today that I think will make an impact on you and make an impact on the region around us in a way that the region will feel it. So let me just tell you what it is straight out of the gate. I want to ask you today to express gratitude to 50 people in Northwest Indiana within the next 5 days. You can do that, right? I want to ask you to express gratitude, not just a casual thank you. Keep doing that, but a little more than a casual thank you to 50 people. I'm going to help you understand who these 50 people are in Northwest Indiana within the next 5 days. And I think there's going to be kind of this wonderful blitz, this surge, this flood of gratitude that comes out of you, out of our church, and out of ourselves to Northwest Indiana. Now, between the people who are here Thursday night and Sunday and watching online, there will be about 2,000 people experience this message. And if all 2,000 of us have 50 expressions of gratitude, that means that in the next 5 days, there will be 100,000 expressions of gratitude in Northwest Indiana. And I just think our region needs that right now. 100,000 people who will know that somebody cares, that somebody's grateful, that they matter, that they're noticed. Can you imagine how it might just lift the whole region just for a window of time, but in a way that's actually meaningful? And you're a part of it, so that you would express gratitude to at least 50 people in Northwest Indiana over the next 5 days. Now, we kicked off this series a couple of weeks ago with Pastor Dan talking about the idea of gratitude, and we've kind of built the whole series around a quote from a pastor that I really respect. His name's Andy Stanley. He says, "Unexpressed gratitude communicates ingratitude." Unexpressed gratitude communicates ingratitude. So this whole series has been about not just feeling grateful, but about making sure we're expressing the gratitude that we feel inside. Now, I heard this quote from Andy Stanley about 10 years ago or so, and I'll never forget, I was in my car listening to a podcast driving, and he shared this sentence. And this does not happen, I'm not sure it's ever happened except for this occasion, where I heard something and it just made sense to me immediately, and it was kind of overwhelming to me to the degree that I literally had to pull off to the side of the road while I was listening to this, because this idea that unexpressed gratitude actually communicates to people that you're not grateful. If you feel grateful but you don't say it, you're actually communicating that you're not grateful. It just lives with me. So let me tell you a couple of stories that have kind of come out of this. Not too long after I heard this quote, I had an experience with my daughter in a particular situation. I got to give you a little bit of the backstory to this, and I'll tell you before I start the story that my daughter has given me permission to share this story, okay? That'll make you lean in and listen, right? Now, when my daughter was quite a bit younger, if I would go and do some pastoral things, I'd always look for an occasion to say, oh, maybe she could go with me on this one. And one of those things was hospital visits. Now, I didn't realize, she didn't express to me that hospitals weren't really her thing. So I'd just take her. And of course, whenever I'd visit someone in the hospital and have, your young daughter with you, like it just lifts everybody's spirits. So I took her on a number of hospital visits. And on one occasion, we went to visit someone that she knew. It actually had been one of her babysitters who was in the hospital. I'm like, this is perfect. So we walk into the hospital room and I'm there talking, to the patient, trying to encourage them, getting ready to pray with them. What I didn't realize is my daughter, who was about this tall at the time, she had kind of locked in on the IV that was stuck in the patient's arm, and she was starting to feel a little bit nauseous. And just as I was getting ready to say, hey, why don't we pray together? Right there in the hospital room, my daughter vomited. I'd never been in that situation before. I've been in lots of situations. You're trying to bring care and encouragement. Now you got a daughter and you're caring about her, but you're caring about I don't know what to do. But we walked out of there. It's the last time I ever took my daughter on a hospital visit with me, okay? Now, fast forward just a couple of years. I had gotten sick one winter and more sick than usual, got to go to the doctor. And then the doctor said, Greg, you really need to get a chest x-ray. Maybe this is pneumonia or something like that. And I was just feeling horrible. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this. So the next day I was supposed to go get a chest x-ray. And then my daughter, same daughter, she woke up not feeling very well, not well enough to go to school, but not horrible. So she's going to stay home. Of course, my wife works. Lots of families deal with this. You're trying to figure everything out. Here's what's going to happen, Abby. You got to come to get the x-ray with me. She's like, okay. She comes along. She's a trooper. She's awesome. And we're in the waiting room. We're at the hospital to get a chest x-ray. And then it's my turn to go get my chest x-ray. I'm like, well, she's young, so I'm going to just bring her in. Yeah, no problem. Everyone was great. And they asked me to lift up my arms in order to do the chest x-ray. And I was feeling horrible. And I thought, I can fight through this. I lift up my arms. No sooner do I lift up my arms than I pass out. And my daughter is standing there watching me pass out in the hospital. So I was out for 5 seconds. It wasn't all that bad, but I'm on the floor, right? And of course, everyone rushes. All the nurses, all the personnel, everyone rushes. They're with me. There she is, scared out of her mind. They get me on a gurney and they take me, the 100 feet over to the emergency room just to check me out and make sure everything's okay. She's with me. And I got to tell you, the nurses and personnel that were around us that day, they made it okay for my daughter. And I was glad that they took care of me. But you know this if you have kids, someone who goes the extra mile for one of your kids, oh my goodness, we're friends for life. And I remember walking out of the hospital. Yes, I did walk out of the hospital that day thinking, oh my goodness, I am so grateful for people like that who watched out for my daughter in a really tough situation. And then it hit me. I feel grateful. I genuinely do. Those people are like rock stars, all stars to me. And I know, in my habit, I did say thank you. I was, thanks for taking care of it. Thanks, real quick expression, very casual. And I thought, the amount of gratitude that I feel inside, it needs to be expressed in a way that they will feel what I'm feeling. Because unexpressed gratitude could actually communicate ingratitude. And so I just did this thing. I went to edible arrangements and got this thing for the whole staff there and took it and dropped it off and wrote them a note. I just wanted them to know how grateful I was. And then in ways that are kind of weird, maybe because I'm a pastor, I don't know, but through kind of some back channels of other people at Suncrest who work at that hospital who found out what happened and then knew that I expressed this gratitude and knew that the whole crowd was man, somebody actually came back and said thank you and brought us some awesome fruit. All at the same time. Here's the thing. It worked. It worked. I was really grateful inside. And by taking a moment to go out of my way to express that gratitude, it worked. And they felt better and they felt appreciated and they felt noticed and they felt like someone cared. Let me tell you one other quick story. About a month ago, we were having our all-staff meeting here at the church. There's about 15 of us, full-time and part-time, on the team. And first Tuesday of every month, we have a meeting together. And at the start of November, we were just talking about trying to lead ourselves well and be reflective and kind of self-aware of how God's made each of us. Some of that's personality and temperament, things like that. So we were doing an exercise for each staff member to kind of identify some things about their personality and temperament, and then the strengths and the weaknesses that go with that. And at the end of our time together, I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. On the growth areas, the weaknesses that come with your personality and temperament for leadership, I just want you to think about that, right? None of the rest of us need to chime in on your weaknesses. But on your strengths, listen, we're a team. We love each other. We care about each other. On your strengths, I want to make sure that as a team, we are all noticing, feeling grateful for the strengths you bring to our team. And I'm going to ask everyone on the team to write a short note to everyone else on the team with gratitude for each other's strengths. And so we just did. We got a bunch of Post-it notes and we wrote real short notes. And I told everyone, I'm like, hey, just stick those Post-it notes on the other staff member's door, by noon tomorrow. And they did. And this is so wild to me. Like this is okay. We feel grateful. We express gratitude. And I walked back through our office just this week, a month later, and you know what is still on everyone's door? Post-it notes all over the place. And it just reminds me, this really matters. Because everyone felt this way before, but expressing it is where the power is. And if you don't express it, you can come across actually as ungrateful. So, I want to ask you to express gratitude to 50 people in Northwest Indiana in the next 5 days. You're up for this, right? Right? Yes. Out loud. Yeah, good. All right, good. This is good. Let me help you picture this, I think, the way that it's hit me. I'm going to help you in just a moment if you start to think, 50 people, Greg, how am I going to come up with 50 people? I promise you, I'll help you come up with them. But one of the things I've been paying attention to is, coronavirus cases in our region, in Northwest Indiana. And if you look for it, the info is out there. I follow a guy on Twitter who does a great job at this, and he's got graphs. And he recently, put up this graph. And it's, you just look at the graph and you're like, oh, this is horrible. This is the number of positive cases in Northwest Indiana from the beginning, back in March, until very recently. And you see this incredible surge in positive cases. I think we should be taking this seriously. We are taking this seriously. And then I looked at this graph and I thought, what if, instead of this graph being like so negative and this massive surge, what if Suncrest had a role based on the voice or sense of God himself to say, yeah, we've been giving gratitude. We've been caring about our region. We've been doing all that. We've been doing it a long time, all year long. But here for 5 days in December, it's going to spike. It's going to have the same kind of surge that in response even to the virus surge, to make sure that while lots of people are down and frustrated and disconnected, we would be a group of people who are expressing gratitude to lift it, even just for a short window. Now, I need you to know, this isn't just like, hey, everybody will feel better. This is a spiritual exercise. Now, when God created human beings, whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, he put something inside of you that resonates with gratitude. This is not, something followers of Jesus feel and others don't. This is a human thing that experiences the power, kind of that magic elixir of gratitude. But there is something very particular about gratitude that does relate particularly to people who are followers of Jesus. I'm going to just build this whole message on about 3/4 of one verse in the book of 2 Corinthians. I want you to follow this verse with me. It says, so that the grace that's reaching more and more people may cause thanksgiving to overflow to the glory of God. Now, let me sit on the second half of this phrase just for a moment. The image here that I'm calling us to is that thanksgiving would overflow from us to the glory of God. Now, I want to ask all of you to think about this. I will not ask for show of hands, as tempted as I am. How many of you would say, yeah, like yesterday was a normal day. Yesterday, thanksgiving overflowed from me to the glory of God. Like, that was the story of my yesterday or my week, this past week. Like, is this pretty natural to me? Like, Thanksgiving, it just overflows from me. Is that the story of your life? Again, no show of hands necessary. Actually, you know who I really want to ask? If you're here with someone else, I want to ask the person who's sitting next to you right now whether Thanksgiving overflows from your life. That would give me a good storyline. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, but Thanksgiving isn't actually what overflows out of everyone. Like, sometimes crankiness overflows out of people. Sometimes crabbiness overflows out of people. Sometimes critique, it just overflows out of people. And this is kind of the image, right? Whatever is in you, when something bumps you, that thing will overflow out of you. And I just want you to think about this for a minute. What is overflowing out of you? And if it hasn't really been the practice for the last 24 hours or the last week or the last year or for your lifetime, for thanksgiving to overflow out of you, for gratitude to just get expressed over and over again because you're grateful inside, I want to ask you to pay attention to that. The scripture, this verse, it helps us a lot. It helps us to know where this comes from. Why in the world would gratitude overflow to the glory of God? Well, it's because for those of us who are followers of Jesus, the grace of God has reached you. It's reaching more and more people. And if you're a follower of Jesus, like, it's good from time to time just to think back to that time when you yielded yourself to God and you came to understand, I hope like I did, God's love for me, God's grace to me is more than I ever deserve. He would send his son, Jesus, to die on a cross for me to take care of the sins that I committed. He's paying a price for what I've done. That's the grace of God in my life and in yours. And I don't know how to receive that grace and then be crabby. And then be cranky. And then be the one who notices everything that's wrong. I mean, some of you, maybe you even have this relationship with God. You're like, hey, God, I appreciate you, sending your son to die for my sins, but I don't like this thing in my life right now. Like many people, like you just can't give a compliment without giving a critique. And I want to ask you, if you're a follower of Jesus and the grace of God has reached you, to think, oh my goodness, I want to make sure that is overflowing out of me. Sometimes, maybe the way to think about this in terms of Thanksgiving overflowing out of us, if you notice it's not actually doing that right now, it's kind of ask yourself, where is it clogged up? Where's the plug that needs to be pulled? I was listening to a sermon years ago. I'll never forget this line. The pastor said, you got joy in your heart? Tell your face about it. And I think sometimes the plug is I actually do feel grateful, but I'm not expressing it. It's not overflowing from me. And sometimes when we're honest, that's not actually where the dam is built. The plug is I've stopped feeling grateful. And if I would return to the idea that the grace of God has come to me in ways that I did not deserve, that would generate a gratitude in me that then would overflow. So, I want to ask you to express gratitude to 50 people in Northwest Indiana within the next 5 days. You're with me on this, right? Yeah, good. All right, so let me get kind of practical on this. Let's talk about who you're going to express this gratitude for. And how about this answer? People you're actually grateful for. Whenever I do a message like this, I do have a picture of how this can all go wrong. Let me give you that picture just for a moment. Maybe it's like some teenager is sitting in this room today, and you go home this afternoon, and the teenager heard what I said, so sees mom is like, hey, Mom, I guess I'm grateful for you. And she'd be like, oh, that's nice. Why do you say that? Well, because Pastor Greg has this vision to make Northwest Indiana feel something. So she'd be like, I feel something, right now. I'm not looking for something that's insincere. I'm looking for us to step back long enough to say, who is it that God's placed in my life that I am grateful for? I just have to stop and think about it a little bit, and I want to make sure I express that gratitude. So I'm going to give you 3 lists, okay? This first list should cover, in my estimation, between 25 and 40 of the 50 people, somewhere in there, okay? And the list number 1 is the people who are up close to you in life already. You might want to jot some notes with this. You might want to use your phone to take notes. I'm going to give you lots of ideas here, and names and faces will come to mind. So make sure you're jotting them down as you go. So the people who are closest to you, first of all, you should just think about your family, right? Family's not excluded from this. Your family, as long as they live in Northwest Indiana. I mean, you can say thank you to your family that doesn't live in Northwest Indiana, but they don't count for your 50, okay? Just be honest about that. So you should think, if you're married, your spouse has to be on this list. Express it to your sons, to your daughters, to your grandson and your granddaughters, to your mom and to your dad, to your grandfather and your grandmother. You have a brother-in-law who's awesome, a sister who's been there for you. You got cousins, like family. This is a really big deal. And I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, Greg, you just told me to say thank you to my spouse. It's going to be kind of awkward when I do that now. We're both sitting here. I'm like, think about how awkward it'll be if you don't do it right now. And then here's what I find. This happens in family. This happens in all kinds of work relationships. Here's what happens. Many, many people withhold expressing gratitude, because there's a big part of the relationship that's actually really broken. And there's something, you'll understand how messed up this is when I say it, but this lives inside of a lot of people, where I will think, I shouldn't say something nice to them if not everything is nice about this relationship. They might get the wrong idea if I say something nice when there's so much that they need to work on. I mean, when I describe it that way, you understand how messed up that is, right? You understand how it is the actual thing that will perpetuate a cycle of brokenness. When I think about people, I know some people who are like this. They're like, yeah, I'm not going to say something nice if everything isn't good in the relationship. I just think, I'm so glad I'm not married to that person. I'm so glad I'm not your son or your dad. The idea that you can't find something to express gratitude because everything isn't great. Oh, don't be that person. Actually, be the person who, even though everything isn't great, there is something that deserves an expression of gratitude. So you have your family, right? You have a group of friends. Friends come from all over the place. You have new friends that you've made. Maybe someone comes to mind. You have old friends. You have college friends. You have church friends. You have friends that you play on a sports team with. You have friends that you're part of a club with. You have friends. Now again, they have to be in Northwest Indiana. We're doing a surge right here, right now. But there's probably half a dozen people you could say thank you to that are your friends. You have people you work with. Some of you have just a small group. Some of you have a big group. I'm just telling you, you could be the voice in your workplace over the course of the next week that lifts this place because you're going around expressing gratitude. You're doing the Post-it note thing all by yourself. And you're doing it to your coworkers. That's powerful. If you're in a position where people work for you, you're doing it to the people who work for you. That's powerful. You have a boss, and you do it to your boss. That's powerful. And I don't know, but maybe some of you are thinking the same thing I was talking about with family earlier, Greg, I don't like my boss. I'm like, okay, find one thing. One thing about her. One thing about it that you are grateful for. Just say that. Don't let the idea that not everything's nice means I can't say something nice stand in the way of that. You have all kinds of people who are up close to you. You have neighbors. If you start to run out of people, I got a little pro tip for you here. If you pull out your phone and open up your contacts in your phone, and you just start scrolling through, you will come across people that you should express gratitude to. If you have an iPhone, maybe Androids are the same way. You scroll all the way to the bottom, it will tell you how many contacts you have in your phone. I did it this week. I have 1,018 contacts in my phone. I did 2 thumb swipes before I landed on a guy whose name started with A. And I thought, oh my goodness. Yeah, we used to hang out a little bit when our daughters were in Girl Scouts together. And then we kind of lost track, but he works for one of the local governments around here in technology. And my goodness, 2020, he's been a gift to that city in amazing ways. So I just reached out to him this week. I'm like, hey, thank you. So you have this circle of people who are up close to you. And whoever God's bringing to mind, and whoever he does bring to mind, say thank you. Now, let me give you a second list. This list of people is people who are from a distance. And this is a little different. These are people who maybe don't interact with your life day in and day out, but that does not mean they couldn't use some gratitude right now. And I'm going to give you 2 categories here. First category, anyone who's in a leadership position right now. Anyone who's been responsible for leading a town or a city or a school district or a business or a restaurant or a nonprofit through the experiences that we've had in 2020. You may not know them personally, but you benefit from their leadership. And I can tell you, if a bunch of local school superintendents or principals at these schools, people who are in leadership and trying to shape our world, would get expressions of gratitude from us, it would, first of all, it would shock them. I promise you, those are not the kind of emails they're getting right now. And second, it would lift our region. So anyone in leadership. And then think, and anyone who's serving Northwest Indiana. Anyone who's in a role of helping. My goodness. If you work in the healthcare field right now, you deserve gratitude. I don't care what your role is. Nurses, doctors, staff, anyone. And maybe you know someone like that because they're caring for you or someone that you love and you need to say thank you to that person. Maybe it's just that a nurse lives around the corner from you and you should go around the corner and say thank you for what you're doing. Teachers, school bus drivers, anybody in education right now, anybody. Maybe it's your child's teacher. Maybe it's your professor. Maybe it's the teacher who lives 4 houses down the other direction on the block. And you just think, my goodness, with what they're fighting through right now, someone should say thank you to them. Someone should. It's you. There are people who are serving like in the mental health field, counselors and therapists who are navigating all kinds of things. There are people who have to do their jobs out in public right now. They're working in retail and bagging your groceries at the grocery store and serving you takeout through the window, all those sorts of things. Those people deserve gratitude right now. And we, Suncrest Church, you got to come up with 50 people. We should just say thank you as often as we can. And how about paramedics and firefighters and police officers, these first responders? You know, let's be honest. If you're a police officer, it's been a tough year for you. And if you know a good police officer, an expression of gratitude right now really matters. And if you don't know one personally, I mean, you could just like make some cookies or buy some stuff or whatever and drop it off with a really awesome note like at the St. John Police Department or the Crown Point Police Department or Cherryville Police Department. You can do this, right? And I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're like, yeah, Greg, but like there's a lot of people here. They're watching online. What if like 20 people drop stuff off at the St. John Police Department? Oh, that would be so horrible. That would just be the worst thing ever to have 20 expressions of gratitude. I'm just telling you, Gratitude lifts a region. Now, this is list number 3. You got to pay attention to this. List number 3 is people who come in your path. And I want you to reserve 5 of your 50 expressions of gratitude for a person who will come in your path each of the next 5 days. Like when you wake up in the morning, you don't know who it's going to be. But you're going to go through your day and you're going to live with this awareness to say, oh yeah, I'm going to watch for people who are serving me, who are making a difference, who are doing good. And sometime between now and the end of the day, I'm going to just say thank you to them. That'll be 5 of your 50. All right, that's who. Let me talk just very quickly about how. Short, sincere, specific. Some of you will trip yourselves up from doing 50 because you have illusions of grandeur on how you're going to thank people. And it involves like very expensive gifts or lots of time creating stuff and all that. And I don't know about you, you're probably a better person than I am. But whenever I think, you know what, I'm going to say thank you in a gigantic sort of way, usually what happens is I don't get it done and I don't say thank you at all. So if you're going to do 50 in the next 5 days, this is short, right? It could be a text. It could be an email. It could be a voicemail. It could be a phone call. I'm a huge fan of handwritten notes that people hang on to forever. But let it be short. That's good. Make sure, of course, that it's sincere. You know, I don't want you to be the person who goes to their mom and like, whatever, I've got to say thank you. But if any names and faces have come to mind for you so far today, here's how I want you to think about that. I want you to receive that as God placing those names and faces in your life. Maybe it's someone who's made a difference in your life, someone who's taught you, someone who's forgiven you, someone who's shaped you, someone who's led you. And God's bringing those names and faces to your mind. So when you share your gratitude with them, I think usually it's 3 sentences. It goes something like this. Hey, I was thinking about how grateful I am, and you came to mind. That's sentence number 1. Sentence number 2 is, I'm thankful for. And maybe it's a specific quality. Even when the relationship isn't perfect, there's something that you're thankful for. Or maybe it's the big difference someone's making in your life. And then you just say, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't just feel grateful, but that you know I'm grateful. There you go. And so then you get specific. And I actually have one very particular practice I want to ask everyone here to employ. Just a minute ago, I said, hey, you have these 5 people you're going to meet over the next 5 days. Well, when you walk out of this room today, I want to ask every one of you to walk to the Welcome Center. And we've prepared this for you. We actually have prepared a package of 5 $5 gift cards that you can buy, get this, for a little discount, $20 for 5 $5 gift cards. Now, if you go buy these 5 $5 gift cards for $20 and you use them for yourself, you're a loser, okay? Like, we should just call it what it is, like sinful, like the devil is inside of you. I don't know, like I can't say it strong enough. Don't do that. We're not your discount store, okay? But I've been doing this. You know how powerful it is? Not just to think, oh yeah, I got to remember sometime today I'll thank somebody, but to take one gift card, put it in your pocket at the start of the day, and just think, I know it's there. I'm just waiting for whoever God brings across my path. And when I see them, I'm going to say a quick thank you to them, and I'm going to say, hey, I just want you to have this. It's just $5 of coffee on me. And I know I can envision things too strongly, but think, what if you do this 5 days in a row, and this tool actually causes you to think, I should walk around looking for things to be grateful for, and it lasts beyond 5 days. I want to ask you to stop and grab $20. Cash, check, card, we take it all, no problems, on your way out the door today. Because I want to ask you to express gratitude to 50 people in Northwest Indiana in the next 5 days. You're with me, right? Yeah, all right. 100,000 expressions of gratitude this week to lift the region. And I think that comes from the grace that causes thanksgiving to overflow to the glory of God. Let me pray for that right now. Heavenly Father, you're good to us. We know that. You've given us more than we deserve, and I pray it flows out of us this week. God, for a whole region that we call home, to experience a lift over the next 5 days because your people want to express what's already inside of us. I pray it has the effect that only you can bring with your Spirit. In Jesus' name. Well, I really hope that was helpful for integrating faith with life. Listen, if you're in Northwest Indiana, I'd love to have you join us in person. Head over to suncrest.org and plan your visit.